Dylan on Time Twist Elementals versus Alan on Biomancer's Elementals. Let's call them that. That's their defining factor between the two. Not that that's very much defining. Both are aiming to abuse Risen Reef to the fullest, and both have the full set of Neoforms. Do they have the full set of Neoforms? Where are your Neoforms? Oh, 4 Neoforms, yes, and 4 Neoforms, yes. To go find them. Um, Both have adopted the Scampering Scorcher um, as a extra because it gives you a easier path to neoform into and from. It gives you something interesting to exchange your um, Cloudkin Seer into, and it allows you to unlock a 5 mana cost level of other elementals you want to neoform into, be it Cavaliers, be it a Yarok, be it apparently a Rambling Ruin or a Yarok's Wave Crusher. We haven't really seen that tech from the side of Dylan yet, but that's another thing that they have going for them. I've run out of things to blabber about, and I'm very happy that our players seem to have reached opening hands as we are ready for the first match in the top 4. Alan has sideboarded, decided to keep 6, and we are off to the races. Lots of little life total upticks are to be expected in this match, with almost every land giving bonuses. Leafkin Druids facing off against each other, waving to their respected nephews on the other side of the board. Alan does not have blue mana available to him. That is a Bloodfell Caves in play for him. Dylan has the blue mana, but might be missing land number 3 here. Yeah, didn't have land number 3 in hand, but found it off the top with Risen Reef. So Alan knows he has free reign there. Ooh, Alan finds blue source, but has nothing to do with the 4 mana available to him now. And we see a Scampering Scorcher for Dylan. That is 3 triggers for his Risen Reef. Another reason to innovate in this direction, as they're aiming to break parity with Guild Summiting Gates decks. This is how they try to do it. 3 hasty 1/1s. Risen Reef, yep, joins the fray. 1 gets blocked, 3 damage goes through, and we're below 20 again. Yay! All that work to go down to 19, and he's just going to play a land and go back to 20. No, it's not a tap land. 3 mana. My Risen Reef. And another 3 mana for a Cloudkin Seer. So Alan trying to keep up with the advantage that Dylan is building here. Ooh, Scorching Dragonfire exiles the Risen Reef. And the second Risen Reef. Two triggers. None of them lands. Also because there's no wipes in these decks that they need to fear. The name of the game very much is go wide or go home. So whoever can throw more onto the board will eventually win this match. Neoform for Dylan. Let's hope he remembers to put the +1/+1 counter on this time. Third Risen Reef is found. Three triggers. And again, he forgets to put a +1/+1 counter on the Risen Reef. Discards a Cloudkin Seer. No +1/+1 counter on the Risen Reef. Neither of them are saying anything. Risen Reef for Alan. Apologies. There we have the +1/+1 counter. Right, and we have a Scampering Scorcher for Alan as well. He really needs those triggers off the Risen Reef. Trying to keep up. Because like I said, the name of the game is go wide or go home. Alan still has his Leafkin, so he has a bit of mana advantage here. Once you start discarding all the cards that you have access to, card advantage becomes a bit of a flexible concept, let's just say. See another Scampering Scorcher in hand for Dylan though. But first we get Risen Reef number 4. Just imagine the impact that a tiny wipe would have. There's something really interesting we get to talk about soon. Sideboard. Because one of these players has something the other one doesn't. Dun dun dun. Hey, Risen Reef number 2 gets exiled for Alan. Alan does not have Scorching Dragonfires in his main deck, and it's really showing in this game 1 here. As Dylan is poised to take over this game handily. The Scampering Scorcher of next turn will give him 12 Risen Reef triggers. And if that makes you feel a little bit dirty, then you're right. So Alan, how is he gonna catch up? I think he can neoform away the Leafkin for a Risen Reef. It's one of the options he has. Not sure what else he can do. I'm also not sure if that's going to be enough for him to catch up to Dylan. A poke all the way down to 22. Yeah, Neoform. On the Scamper, he wants a 5 drop. Okay, so what's coming here? The Yarok gives him double triggers. And then next turn he can. Yeah, next turn then he can get the Risen Reef off the Leafkin and play this. I think he has a Scampering Scorcher in hand as well. Yeah, which will be for uh 20 triggers then, but instead he wants a 4 drop. Now I'm interested. Omnat. That's 5 damage to something. I would think a Risen Reef. As going face isn't particularly uh, interesting, but this is a completely different plan than I would have gone for. Gains 2 life. Ooh, Omnat actually deals 10 damage here. Yeah, so all of that 10 damage went to face. He could have taken out 2 Risen Reefs. So this Yarok, it's only from creatures entering. If a permanent. Ah, so it would have been 2 plus 1 counters. Yeah, and he split it between the Omnat and the Yarok. So Alan decides to turn towards the power of the rare rather than the bulk plan that I suggested. Has his Cavalier of Gales in hand as well. Cloudkin Seer for Dylan. He is still on the draw infinite cards plan, it seems. And has those 4 Risen Reefs that are giving him sheer infinite amounts of options. Neoform, Cloudkin Seer, goodbye. Give me a 4 drop. Is this Omnat of his own to kill the Yarok or the Omnat? That seems like a good idea. Yep. Doesn't forget the +1/+1 trigger this time. Good guy. So this is a 8 damage dealing. This can kill either the Yarok or the Omnat. But Alan has applied Biomancy. So is he bouncing? I think he has to bounce his own one. Yeah, bouncing a token wouldn't have been enough. So gives 1. So applied Biomancy. There's Alan's flavor in this matchup. Gives the Omnat of the Royal +1/+1. bounces the Yarok that's being targeted by the Omnot. Dylan just put on the board. And this is just go how these matchups are going to run. Go white or go gold. Alan is reminding his opponent of his triggers now. That he can actually forget. And I think they're waiting for the judge. I need to take a break a little bit. Double GRV. Dat is een update geweest. Yep. Apparently, in the other match, there something went wrong with a Narset and some extra draws. So we're going off camera now. Not sure what's down there. Looks like a planeswalker. Is that Dylan's Oko? Oko? Think we just had an Oko come into play. I'm not sure. Did it? Yeah. It alkafied the Omnot. And Dylan's own Omnot was Teferi's Time Twister. Okay. Whew. Lots of things happening here. Apparently the chat has died in the meantime. Let me know if I need to call an ambulance. Uh, Nobody's here anymore. And I see a lot of new names actually. So, in case you don't know what you're looking for, this is a budget version of Standard called Gentry that we are playing locally in Belgium. It limits you to 15 uncommons and 4 rares or mythics, but they have to be 4 unique ones. That means that the format is well, obviously budget friendly since it's a budget format, but it's also a completely different meta game. Dat is niks. Dat is een policy update. Vroeger was dat iets. Ja. So, the first time twist on the Omnat, and I think at this point, I would. Well, there's no time limit on these matches. I believe was announced. No, so might as well play it out. But I don't think that there's a way for Alan to come back from this first game. And for that matter, I think that Dylan could have attacked this turn instead of just time twisting. He's sculpting his perfect hand to keep discarding the rest. And Alan gets a turn as well after 29 minutes of Dylan intellectually masturbating on the table. I said intellectually. It's appropriate if you do that. Okay, Yarok is back. Double triggers for Alan and Cavalier of Gale to double brainstorm. It's a 5/5 flying threat as well. So that's something that might force Dylan to go on to defensive finally, even though he's on 17. So, and most likely his next attack is going to be an Alpha Strike for the kill. Yarok's life link does mean he's on a virtual 17, but there's another Scorcher there. There's So the Scorcher will be 12 triggers, all those land. Well, there's not much lands left in Dylan's deck, and he might be on the verge of milling himself. 5 mana, Cavalier. Okay, that might be enough on its own. Cavalier of Flame for Dylan. 3 cards. He can't have more than 10 cards left in his deck. Het is oké, het gaat gedaan zijn. Cavalier, he's counting Cavalier activations. So sets aside the mana he wants to use for something else. That's 2 blinks as a backup as he's lining up his kill. He can wait with the actual activation though. He only needs 1 to make sure that the Cavalier can attack as well, but decides to go for +3/+0 straight up. And then Neo forms it away. So I think the Rambling Ruin is coming into play here. So that also explains why he would activate it already. Neo forms away the Cavalier, gets to look for a 6-drop, and I'm pretty sure that 6-drop is Rambling Ruin. Apparently it's not called Rambling Ruin. Hmm. I think, am I forgetting how to rambling? What is the name of that thing? Rambling. I can't type anymore. Help! Rumbling? Rumbling Ruin. That might be the one. Rumbling. Rumbling Ruin. There we go. So, whew, we got there. Tutors for Rumbling Ruin. Count the number of +1/+1 counters on creatures you control, creatures your opponent control with power less than or equal to that number can't block this turn. I don't even think it was necessary to throw that out, but he did, and sure. So, Rumbling Ruin, one of the additions in the package. So, as I said, sideboarding. One of these has something the other does not have. Alan Sur has Cosmotronic Wave on his sideboard. Cosmotronic Wave is an effect that deals 1 damage to each creature, and they can't block this turn. So, pretty much the functionality that the Rumbling Rune has for Dylan, Alan has in the form of a spell. He has 2 copies of them, and he also has the Scorching Dragon Fire in his deck. On top of that, there are Negates, Return to Nature, Healer of the Glade, and Sagittar's Volume, which I think are a lot less interesting. Now, Negate uh, might be interesting if Neo form. Yeah, that's an additional cost. So I'm not sure. I don't think Negate is good enough to bring in. The Cosmotronic Wave is enough to win this matchup, but maybe I'm wrong. For Dylan, we have Negate and Summon, No Escape, Run Away Together, Return to Nature, and Casmina's Transmutation, none of which are particularly interesting. He could go for a more uh, bounce oriented approach, but it doesn't seem like he needs to get more value out of his creatures than he's already getting. So, in the meantime, a little shout out for all the viewers. Avocado and Chili, 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. What the hell? Cool name. Element 25, Katarn Kyle, Lurks, Moltini, Ruby the Fox, Smuffy, V and K, Virgo Pros, and Windsock. I wonder how many of those are just random bots that wandered into the chat. There's a few there that I do recognize though, so it's very nice to have you around. We are watching the top 4 of a Gentry leaderboard event. This is a mirror match between 2 elemental neoform decks, or neoform elemental decks, whatever you want to call them, while 2 Gates decks are battling it out on the other half of the top 4. And we're off. Game 1 was won by Dylan. Hi, Ruby. Um, who managed to get 4 of his Risen Reefs in play, I think by turn 8, which isn't really a recipe for a fair match, turns out. This time, Alan is the first one to get a Risen Reef, though. And he starts grinding the value machine. Elementals, a deck that thrives off abusing all the different triggered abilities that are available on the different um, elementals. Uh, almost almost all creatures are from M20 with a Neoform, and some of the support spells around it being the exception. Um, Alan, while he has lost the first round, um, has more and better cards to bring in for the mirror match, though. And as we see in his hand, he deemed the Negate, which pretty much only deals with Neoforms and the Time Twisters, to be good enough to play. And he still plays the Trailblazer. Wow, I didn't see that one. Creeping, yeah, 4 of Creeping Trailblazer. So he still has that um, aggro aspect of the deck going. Gets no escaped. Nico Bolas locks him on Ravnica, and Alan choosing not to use his negate here. Looks like he has two or even three extra of the Creeping Trailblazer in hand still. The card that didn't show up at all last match. It's funny how much the dynamic of this match changes post board when both of these players know there's now suddenly probably counter spells and extra removal spells hiding in their opponent's decks. Risen Reef for Dylan. No, that's not the Risen Reef. And again, Gatherer slows down. Another Creeping Trailblazer from Alan. Plenty more where that came from. And he tapped what? He tapped one blue for something. So Creeping Trailblazer, an interesting card, but the fact that it doesn't have trample makes it underwhelming. Since what you really need to do is blow open a big board stall, and if they get to just throw a 1/1 token in front of it every time it attacks, it really doesn't do as much. Uh, Especially if the decks keep pushing in more cards with that mana otherwise. Neoform Neoform on gets negated. In the meantime, we heard that Sander has crashed and burned in his match on the other side of the top four. So that means Laurent will be taking Gates into the final match. So, Scampering Scorcher for Dylan. Cloudkin Seer for Alan. And we are back in this see who can go wider plan, which we now know Alan has a plan for that Dylan doesn't or has less. The Rumbling Ruin and the Cosmotronic Wave are the two breakers of stalemates here. And again, Alan does have those Creeping Trailblazers, but those seem very underwhelming in this particular matchup. It's funny how a card that makes three 1/1s can suddenly look oppressive. Four mana. Are we scampering again? I don't think we are. No, it's Omnat. Getting rid of that Risen Reef. And again, Dylan is in a position where he has the engine running uh, and manages to keep Alon's offline. Tell them they shouldn't tell you to tell me, but to go on stream and tell me myself. Ah, alright. Dylan choosing to keep four mana open. So again, telegraphing that maybe he's holding one of his counter spells or the Teferi's Time Twister. Mana gets tapped, and with the ability on the stack, Arisen Reef gets Scorching Dragon fired. It's funny how everything can be a vowel, right? And Alan playing Scampering Scorcher here without a Risen Reef on the table. They do have +2/+0. They're a lot scarier than the basic variants, but in the end, they still trade with them. Cloudkin comes in for 4 thanks to the creepies. And then we get a Time Twisted Omnat taking out one of the creeps. I think just taking out the Cloudkin is more interesting here, personally. No, Dylan seems to think the Trailblazer is more important. Alon is just biding his time until he can wreck Dylan's board with a Cosmotronic Wave. But with that Omnat on the board, Dylan can start pumping his relevant creatures, which is pretty much just Risen Reef at this point, for 1 point, which he's been doing in game 1 as well, uh, to avoid that fate. Leafkin Druid, more like just an extra trigger for Risen Reef. And we have an extra. I was gonna say follower, but no, we have a new subscription. The Gentle Muffin remains one of our most, not one of our, the most loyal subscriber of all time. I think you're on what, 20 months now? Crazy. Uh, and as he says, he's also stranded in the semis for the second time. One day, one day there'll be a final finish for him, and then the next day maybe a win. Wow, that scared me. It's really loud, and it's no other sound for me. It's like suddenly, woohoo! All right, so back to the match. I think I missed some things. Omnadzo roiling +1/+1 counters onto creatures. There's 9 lands on in play already. What? So apparently the stream is being shared on in a lot of spaces, which I already did this morning. So now people will get annoyed. Okay, this spamming Happy Viking dude. I really need a new picture though. Yes. Yeah, back to the match. We are roiling. So Dylan is grinding the card advantage machine here, and it looks like we're going back to the scenario where we were in last game as well with Dylan. There's poop on the lens, uh, where Dylan has just way more uh, card advantage running into this match. I, apparently, I need to pose for a nice picture so that I can have something else to put on my cover for the Twitch stream. It's really important. It's part of marketing, you know. It's all about the pose, the genuine intellect, streaming, oozing off your face. Now, back to the match though. Scorching Dragon fire on the last of the Trailblazers, and that pretty much marks the end of Alan's offense here. And even with just a 1-1 on the other side of the table, Dylan refuses to attack. Only the Omnat came in. But at this point, things are academic. Somebody got home with fries and needed to put that in the coverage. Perfect. Thank you very much. Enjoy your meal. Munch away while we see who will be waiting for Laurent in the finals with his gate stack. Yarok gets neo formed up by Alan. That's the only tool he has available to him that Dylan does not have. And this is the one way that he could slowly grind himself back into this match. He has the Risen Reef to get things started. And there's a Scorching Dragonfire in his hand as well to get rid of one of Dylan's. And at that point, he breaks parity again. Dylan has Run Away Together in his hand though. Two mana for a Leafkin. Double triggers for Alan. One, two. That's a land. That's two life. So as comfortable as it looked for Dylan last turn, he's now forced to find an answer to it. And if he has a Teferi's Time Twister, uh, that's enough, but he apparently doesn't. Blinking that Omnat for 5 damage. Ah no, the Yarok is, yeah, is for 6 damage. That would have been enough. 9 mana, 10 mana for Dylan. Ooh, is that the finale? Finale of Devastation. That's what's coming. He has it in his hand. He was tapping up mana for it. And he can cast it for 10 or more. So I think this is cast 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh no, he's missing 1 mana to do it. So he casts Arisen Reeve instead. So he's looking for that 12th mana so he can devastate Alon here. There is a land in his hand though. Did he? Did I miss something? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he could have just finished it here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. And at this point, it starts looking a little bit like toying with your food, but that's just what these decks look like. Like if Alan gets to untap here and plays Risen Reef into Scorchering Scamper, he'll catch up with Dylan uh, through that Yarok and double triggers. But Dylan is happily sitting on all the interaction he has in his hand and looking to cast the Devastation next turn, it seems. Alan has Omnat. Alan has Scorchering Scamper. And I think there's a Neo form in the deck as well. No, 4 mana, Scorching Scamper, Scampering Scorcher, whatever. It's all the same thing anyway. Is cast. Is this a no escape? No. It is a runaway together on a token and Alan's Risen Reef. That means Alan gets 4 tokens but no card advantage of this. Counts up his lands, and his plan is to Risen Reef and kill Dylan with a double trigger of Omnat here. And that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Omnat will be the 10th elemental. Yeah, Omnat will be the 10th elemental, and he will shoot Dylan for 20 now. Of course, if Dylan has any interaction to respond to this, it won't work, but this is the desperation attempt for Alan. Do I win? Do I win? No, I have a no escape. Alan proposed a game 3. Dylan said, how about no? Don't throw the printer off the table. Perfect. Alright. Apparently, we have some people that think they can win all this. I'd be surprised to have non-ringer names to just step in and take this home. And we have a finale of Devastation. 4 X is 10. Dylan fetches up a Rambling Ruin. And we have another follower, Situkan. Welcome to the longboat. Grab an oar and join the adventure. That's what I usually say. Haha, I remembered. I forgot my line for the subscribers though, which is kind of sad because it doesn't happen anymore. Sniff. Uh, so, all Dylan's creatures have +10/+10 and trample, and Alan is not allowed to block. I think he's taking 100 damage here. Do they get haste? And gain haste. Ah, but they don't gain trample. No, they gain haste. Alright. Wow, 17 viewers. Welcome everybody. You are watching the first match of the top 4 in Gentry finishing. We already have a opponent for Dylan who wins 2-0.